Hey there, everybody. Cathy McLeish back here again with Alcoholism Unpacked. And by that, we're talking about taking the disease of alcoholism and opening up a little bit more information so that we don't have the ignorance or the misunderstanding of what is going on with the disease when people are practicing and when they are in recovery. So I'm a recovering alcoholic. I've been sober for 37 years, got sober when I was in my late 20s, and I have a little bit of experience just through my own journey. And I want to talk today about, are you thinking about quitting, and do you have some reservations about whether or not you can actually make that happen? And I think that's where we get, and a lot of times we don't want to admit it, or maybe we can't even acknowledge that's where we're at. But our pattern of trying and failing and trying and failing would tell us, if we could really look at it, that it is almost next to impossible for us to do by ourselves. Now, a few things were going on with me when I was back at that time and trying to get sober. One is I couldn't really see the truth about how bad my alcoholism was. I was looking at a lot of other things, mainly people that were doing worse than me, and that is very easy for an alcoholic to do, point out somebody that is worse off than them, and then they feel better about themselves. But they have, at least for me, made their world very, very small. So there's not a lot of people in their world. So it's easy to pick out one or two that are doing worse so that we can stay right where we're at and not do anything to change. So the inability to see the truth about how bad things were going, also the fact that the journey that I was on, going so far away from my values when I was younger, from how I was brought up or raised, from just even what I aspired to have in my grown-up life, I had moved so far away from that it was almost impossible for me to look at myself and admit how I felt about myself. I really felt like I kind of deserved what I got. So instead of looking at it like an illness, instead of looking at it like a disease, I had no capacity to do that because I didn't have the education to do that. I was looking at it as a bad moral decision. And anybody that would make this decision day after day, week after week, year after year, had to be a pretty rotten person that probably deserved everything that was happening. So if you are watching this, if you are listening to me, I want you to know that what you have is a disease. And when you put alcohol into your body craves, it has an allergy, it craves more alcohol. So where you might be thinking, I'm just gonna take one drink to relieve the stress of the day, or I got bad news in court today, so I'm just gonna have one drink. It is not gonna happen. You are not gonna be able to stop after that one drink. And then that one drink becomes 10 or 20, and then you have another episode where you feel just a little bit less good about yourself. So we do this to ourselves day after day. And when we do, we start to think we aren't worth getting sober. We aren't worthy of a better life. And we are. We are. We are a person who is afflicted with a disease. And if we can bring it into remission, per se, if we can put down a drink and not drink for day after day, week after week, we will turn things around, and we will again be able to look at ourselves in the mirror, and we will start to believe that we are worth a good life. We deserve a good life. Now, for me in the beginning, I had to hear other people say that. Cathy, you deserve a better life. Cathy, you shouldn't be living this way. Nobody should be living this way. And I also had to see other people on their journey who had started out at the same place as me, or even lower than me, sometimes higher than me in how far down the scale they had gone with their drinking. But I had to see other people gaining a better life. And when I saw that, and that is the beauty of being in some kind of a recovery program and some kind of a rehab center where you can start to see people go forward. And you begin to believe if it can happen for them, then why can't it happen for me? And it can happen for each of us. There is no discrimination in taking somebody down with alcohol or allowing somebody the freedom of living without alcohol. It is there on both sides for any of us. We can die of the disease of alcoholism. We can end up in prison. We can ruin our lives and just have none of the things we ever dreamed about because of our drinking, or we can be on the other side and we can have sobriety. I was no different than the people sitting next to me when I first came in, and we all had equal days sober, and people started to drop like flies. So I'm in this atmosphere, and there's all these people that are sober, and there's people that are starting out new because they came out of a rehab center, and I came in off the street, and I'm, white knuckling it just like these other people that are newly sober, and they start to drop like flies, to the point that there is only 2 of us left, and we actually ask when we're going to drop. And the answer that we got is the answer that I'm giving you today. We were asked to do certain things. We were asked in a program of recovery with a group of people supporting us while we took these different steps forward, doing things differently than we'd ever done before in our life, trusting that they had answers that we did not have. So we were asked to do those certain things, and they told us that as long as we did them, we would stay sober. It was that simple. As long as I continued to go to meetings of recovery where people were giving me different ways to think, I might stay away from a drink. As long as I was keeping alcohol out of my home, as long as I was staying away from people, places, and things that would trigger me to go backwards, as long as I was talking to different people when I came up against emotions or situations or problems that I didn't know how to handle, as long as I would do those things, I would stay clean and sober. And I'm here to attest that they were right. They were right. I have stayed sober since that day, since that time that I said, just tell us, when are we going to drop? Because all these other people are gone, and they used to be here. Now, I'm not saying all those other people never got sober. They might have just gone out and come back in again later. They might not have even drank. They might have found another way to stay sober. The chances are that they probably went backwards rather than forwards, because that's what we do. But I'm not saying they all didn't make it. I'm just saying at that point in time, when we all came in together, only 2 of us remained after 2 months. And at a year, at 2 years, at 3 years, me and this other guy, still there together. And to this day, that guy is sober as well. So I want you to know you have just as good of a chance as anybody else. And it doesn't matter if you have relapsed, if you have tried and failed. If you start and do things a different way than you have tried before, if you surrender to this idea that you're going to figure your own way out, that you're going to do it on your own, that you should be able to do it on your own. I mean, I grew up with that kind of direction, and I'm not saying anything bad about my, parents or the way that they parented. It is just something that did not work for me. My dad was pretty much a self-made man. He taught us that you figure things out on your own, and that you pull yourself up by your bootstraps, and that you don't lean on crutches. And I'm here to tell you, I am a crutch user. I don't call it crutches. I call it tools. When I can't figure life out on my own, all these different aspects, whether it's relationships or finances or something with work, I go and I ask for help. And the thing is, it is a humbling step, and humbling steps are really hard for the alcoholic to take. But unfortunately, we don't get there on our own. And so what is the smarter thing to do? Just to say, I don't understand this, can you help me? And then rise above whatever that problem was and go on your way with success? Or to sit and say, if I can't do it on my own, I'm just going to try again. I'm going to try again and again and continue to fail. And then what that does to my self-esteem, and what that does to the prospect of me going forward in all these other areas of my life, I'm just stealing a good future from myself. So my message today is, you can do this. You can do this, but you cannot do it the same way that you have been trying to do it. And that is just a level of understanding that we have to accept in order to get on the other side. And so how hard is that? I think for me, the main thing is staying out of my own head And that is what I'm going to say last but not least is get out of your own head and just take action. Because the things that are going on in our head early in sobriety or when we're still drinking, they are not healthy. And as we share them with people little by little, they will blow the power out of them. And I can remember like telling somebody, this is what I think, this is what I feel about myself. And them saying, oh my gosh, no, this is how it should be. This is what you should do. And then I would have this path that was probably easier than any path I would have chosen to get to something better. In every area of my life, I was given a path. And so today the path is just to say, what I've been doing isn't really working, and I'm going to try something different. So good luck with that, but luck will not do it. It has to be a phone call, it has to be a decision, and it has to be a step forward that you haven't taken before. So Cathy McLeish, Alcoholism Unpacked. Please subscribe, follow, and come back again and get some more information so that you can either use it for your own life to make your life better or share it with someone you care about. Thanks.